there, welcome back to my channel. I am really excited today. I'm going to be doing my first ever book review. But before I get into that, I'm sure I've already stated this. I love reading. I love reading so much that I had to get a t-shirt actually showcasing to the world how much I love reading and books and whatnot. The t-shirt is called Storytellers. It's found on threadless.com. I believe right now it is $25. I will include the link below if you are interested in purchasing it. I am currently wearing it, but the lighting is so poor in here, and the shirt's actually quite faded because I've worn it so much that you wouldn't be able to really see it. But no, the book series I'm going to be reviewing is the Mark of the Nexus series by Carrie Butler. It did win an award in 2014 for Best New Adult and Best Series. It says Best New Adult. I quite frankly don't know that I agree that it's an adult book. I think I kind of disagree in that factor. It does take place in the characters are college students, but I think it's more young adult friendly than adult friendly. It's a paranormal romance series. I'm going to try not to give any spoilers. I'm going to try to stick to kind of what the synopsis says about it a little bit, but kind of emphasize why I like this book series so much. First of all, I came across the series because I patrol free online sites for books and whatnot. When Kindle does the free daily thing, but I never can find where that is, so I actually go to a website. I think it's freedailybooks.com. I think I'll include that website though at the bottom too, so you can actually verify that. But the first book, Strength, I found free a couple of weeks ago. I'm actually surprised I didn't know about this book before, since it did come out in 2014, or did win an award in 2014. I'm actually really shocked that I didn't come across this book. The book is about, well, it's about a character named Rena. She is, which I find an unusual name. I don't think I've ever heard of anyone really named Rena. Lena I've heard, Mina I've heard, not Rena. That's neither here nor there. But she is best friends with a adorkable guy, I guess you could say. And next door in his dorm lives a boy named, why can't I think of his name right now? Wallace. I'm sorry, I had a brain glitch. Wallace is known as the campus outcast. She's even spread rumors because her best friend has told her that he will hear moaning and pain and thumping against the walls at a specific time every night. And when he told Rena about this, Rena started spreading rumors across campus about Wallace and how he was some freak and whatnot, and she never even met the guy. Well, this book begins with her going up to see her friend, hoping not to come across Wallace, even though she's never seen him before. She stumbles across a very handsome guy, according to her. I don't remember how she describes him, but it's a pretty epic, what is the phrase? Meet cute. I'm sorry, I'm using a phrase that I learned in one of my favorite movies. Meet cute is where two main characters actually meet each other. I'm sorry if the screen starts shaking, by the way. My table's not very sturdy, and sometimes I just accidentally hit it. So disregard that, please. But no, Strength was the first book. I trying to remember, I either read it and immediately bought the full series afterwards, or I got partially into it and I loved it that much that I went ahead and bought the whole series. The first book's free still. I did double check that as of today, today is October 20th that I'm recording this. There's other things that, it's kind of a Romeo and Juliet type aspect book. I don't love the Romeo and Juliet comparison because of the fact that I don't really, Romeo and Juliet is not my favorite Shakespearean play, therefore I kind of try not to use it too much, but it is a reoccurring theme in a lot of books, which some people might say that's not very original. I say, you know what, it depends upon how you execute it. I love the way this one was executed. The other thing, other than him being weird and being in pain and moaning all the time, you find out why that is later. But there's more to it than that. He actually has two secrets. He has the what's going on with his pain and whatnot, which that one you find out really early on what the reason why he's moaning, and it happens at the same time every night. So it's not anything that it's like almost a scheduled event. But he also has an what how did they phrase it in the an uncontrollable strength. Um Imagine Superman but not being able to control it. That's the first thing I think of. Like the Man of Steel can bend something with easily with his like metal with his hands, but he goes a little bit further. He has a really hard time explaining it to Rena when Rena notices it too. The first time she notices it, when he walks into her, he actually literally bumps into her when they meet. She doesn't know it's Wallace. She learns later it's Wallace. But when he bumps into her, he grabs her arms because she almost falls. And he doesn't even extend that much force on it because she doesn't realize that he's even grabbing her with this much force. But later she finds bruises where his hands were. So that kind of gives you an example of what his strength is. The whole series is really, really good. The first book, there's always a villain in every book. The first book, the villain is kind of unexpected, and then it evolves more later on in the book. Like there's a few different villains, and the first villain, no, not. I don't like the first villain because I do and I don't. I don't like that he is a villain. Let me say that. I'm not going to say too much about who that is. I'd rather. It's a free book. I strongly suggest reading it. It made me. Second book is called Courage. That book is obviously dealing more with. The second books in any romance series to me are always the transition books. They can go either good or bad and annoy the bejesus out of you because the characters, for some reason, always have some kind of falling out. For the most part, there is a falling out. I'm not going to get into it. That it's again, I don't want to give spoilers, but the reason why I mentioned this book at all is just because of the fact that it's part of the series. The point I'm trying to make is that the second book was good, regardless of the fact that it was a transition book. You get introduced to more characters. You go through more characters' tribulations. It's not solely about Rena and Wallace, which is really refreshing. The third book is called Honesty. Now, the part of the reason why I'm going through each book is because of this book in particular. If you go to the website and look up each book individually, it will list two books as being number 3. That's because this one is number 3, but technically it's kind of a 2.5. This book is done in the perspective of another character, and it actually relays back to part of what happens in number 2. When I started reading this one, I was like, why am I reading this? I don't even understand why I'm reading this. This is stupid. The book's not stupid. The concept was stupid. As I got to going through it, though, you get to this particular character is very complex, and it's nice to actually get inside his head. It's nice to see how he deals with things, because he deals with things in a very different way than anyone else does, and it's very nice to see that. But it also bridges the gap between book 2 and book 4. There's a brief interlude, which I'm thinking the reason why this book was written is because people were probably questioning. I'm sure this book was written last, and the people were probably questioning how two specific characters got together. And this book tells how those characters fell in love and whatnot. So this book is necessary, even though the beginning is kind of like, I've already read this. Why am I reading this again? Almost more than half of it is like that. But there's these brief moments where it's like, oh my gosh, that's so sweet. Where it's mostly those two characters falling out. There is one thing this character said. This character in particular says, this character is part of the same family as Wallace. He says he has the ability of speed. He can run really, really fast, and he has one other ability, which I think is healing, if I remember right. He can run really, really fast. Well, he actually kind of adapts Rena as a family member, since Rena is Wallace's girlfriend. Uh, Obviously, I don't feel like I give spoilers there. It's a romance book. They're gonna end up together. It's just fact. But there's one point where he actually is trying to get her away from a conversation that Wallace is having with somebody else, and he puts her on her back and says, "Hold on tight," and she interrupts and says, "You better not say spider monkey," and I just cracked up so bad. I am a twihard. I admit I'm a twihard. I don't care if you like Twilight or not, but I love the books more than the movies, of course. But there were brief moments in the movies where I'm like, I'm glad I watched it. That line was stupid as hell. I will say, I'm sorry I used to, it was stupid, but that that moment in that book just cracked me up. I literally had to put my tablet down and just have a moment where I couldn't stop laughing because it made me laugh so much. Uh, I actually love the covers on these books too. That's usually what appeals to me. I mean, look, that's Loyalty, which is the fourth book, the final book. I don't like how different they made Rena look from Courage. You can't see her face, but I can tell that that is a different model. It it was probably a book produced on a low scale. Sorry, my nose itched. It was a book probably produced on a low scale. Therefore, the covers are strictly photo manipulations. But like I said, I bought the whole series within at least after the first book was finished. The reason why I did is I realized I loved this series enough that I was going to absolutely positively have to read it. Uh, the book series I believe is $6.99 right now, and with the exception of Strength, all the other books are $2.99. So that's like $2 I saved. So if you end up liking the first one, I definitely recommend the whole series. The only thing I didn't like about the series, if you're going to have supernatural abilities, if you're going to have like super strength, super speed, and if it's going to be a family thing, I really, really wish you'd have more explanatory background. There wasn't enough background for me. They just knew that it fell down the lines of the family branches. I try to rate like each book series that I read, and like I said, with the fact that I feel like there should be more backgrounds, I out of four, out of five tattoos, we're gonna use tattoos because tattoos are mentioned later in the book too, and I want to use something other than starring system. Out of five tattoos, I'd probably give it a four, maybe a 4.5, but it's really mostly the background that I have a problem with. There are it's a low budget, like I said, I believe it's a low budget produced book series, and I think there are a few grammar mistakes. I try not to judge too much on grammar mistakes because if the storyline is good enough, you don't notice those grammar mistakes. You automatically correct those grammar mistakes in your head. So that's why I don't really judge too much on grammar unless it's so bad I literally have to put the story down. I literally can't do it anymore. But yeah, that was my first book review. I will have all of the links in the video below, so you can actually check it out too. Again, I'll have the T-shirt linked also if you would like to purchase it. I'm no way affiliated with Kindle, Amazon, or even Threadless.com, but I do, when I see something I do like to share it with the world, and that's part of what, like I said, that's part of the reason why I do book reviews, because I just want to share what I find with the world. I'm thrilled with this book series. It's been a while since I've been thrilled with a book series. If you're looking for books similar to, if you fall in love with this book after you read it, not after you read it, after you've watched this, then please look into, I think it's the Lux series. That actually reminds me a lot of this, which I will probably do a review on that one too once I finish the series. I'm having a lot of trouble with the last book. The another series, what was that one? I think there's one called Sweet Nothings. Oh gosh, it's mentioned actually in the Lux series. If I can think of it, I'll add that link and a notation to the bottom underneath the video too. I can't think of it right now at all. I can picture the cover in my head. I can picture that the girl is blonde and she wears a red dress and the background's dark, but I can't remember the actual name of the book. But yeah, I will actually include anything that I think is related to this book. I will try to also do book reviews on those books too, but they're not fresh in my mind. And like I said, the Lux series, I'm having trouble with the last book, so I haven't read that one all the way through yet. In fact, I might personally reread the whole series. Another thing I judge when I actually do book reviews is do I ever see myself being able to reread this? And if I can't see myself rereading it, I the scale's usually a little bit smaller if I can't reread it. Even if I can't reread bits and pieces of it, the scale is going to be smaller. If I've had times where I picked up a book and like, I want to read this specific spot. That's all I want to read because I love that spot. That's still, to me, that's still being able to reread it, even if I can't reread the whole thing. Breaking Dawn's a great example of that, actually, in the Twilight series. Breaking Dawn and the Twilight book are my two favorite books in the whole series. But Breaking Dawn, I don't like reading from Jacob's perspective because I'm not that... I'm Team Edward. If it's between those two, I'm Team Edward, but I'm actually Team Alice and Team Jasper more. If you guys don't, I don't know why I'm rushing on about Twilight. I think it was just to make a point about my rereading level. I feel bad for making that Twilight reference. Oh, there is one thing I forgot. If you are opposed, if you have strong religious beliefs that aren't Christian oriented, and if you are completely against Christianity, I'm not going to judge you. I don't scale anything regarding Christianity. Everyone's entitled to their own belief system. But the reason why I'm bringing it up is there's an underlining Christianity level to this book series. So I'm not saying if you're Christian, read this. I'm not saying if you're not Christian, don't read this. I'm saying that if religion in any aspect brought up in a book series makes you a little bit queasy, I don't know if you will be able to read the series or not. Again, the first book's free. Read the first book and judge it from there, because it doesn't get much further into the religion aspect than what it does in the first book. There's a small layer later with another character, because there's one character that is very religious. It's part of who she is, and that's the way I look at it. But yeah, that's all I can think of to say for the book series. Again, if you like this series, give me a thumbs up. Say thank you for recommending this. You've made my day, and I will be ever so thankful that I made your day, because for me, it's more about what comes back to me than what I put out. If nobody watches this, I will be hurt. I'm not gonna lie. But If one person watches this, one person falls in love with that series, that's one person I put a smile on their face, and that's one person I made happy. So thank you very much for watching. I hope to see you guys again. Bye.